Welcome back to Breakfast. We're going through the papers in the company of journalist and broadcaster Claire Muldoon and the actor and TV show host Tim Vincent. Morning, you two.
Morning.
Morning.
And Claire, let's start with this plan, shall we, by Angela Rayner to tax savers.
I mean, she needs to build houses, doesn't she? Where is she going to get the money to build houses? There is no money in the Treasury. Rachel Reeves has already confirmed that there's a 22 billion black hole, is there not? Plus more. So what the plan is now, if they have a plan, do Labour really have a plan? Do they know what plan means, actually? Rayner has now decided to tax savers. And this is a leaked document, leaked memos shown to journalists at the Daily Telegraph, of which they've splashed it right and firmly on their front page, to say that those of us who have tried, well, I'm not one of them, I have to say, I say the royal we, some of us who have managed to save a bit will end up getting taxed. And that's disregarding the fact if you've got a tax-free ISA, if you've got savings in your bank, which, of course, historically, interest rates have been historically low, so you're not even going to get much of a return on that. And then they're just coming after absolutely everything. You think for 1 minute there might be a bit of hope. Not at all. Absolutely none. And unfortunately today, as Eamonn said as well, with this weather, there's more doom and gloom with Muldoon this morning than I ever cared to remember.
Yeah. I think the issue is what Eamonn had said earlier on in the show, is that they are taxing you, they're penalising for anybody that's been encouraged to save or work very hard to buy a house. And I've travelled like the rest of you. You look at those Norwegian countries or the Scandi countries, and they always say very high taxes, very high tax. But actually, you get a lot for your money, a bang for your buck. You get so many weeks off if you have a child. You have the equivalent of NHS. Here, you don't get anything for your money. If you can stomach the fact that you are actually paying all these taxes and stealth taxes, don't even get me started on stealth taxes. By the time you and I have got here this morning, we've had to do car tax, home insurance, all these other things that are actually added to it. You don't get anything more for your money. Do you not think 10, 15, 20 years ago, Eamonn, we had a better life with a better infrastructure, with less tax?
You know what we had, Tim? I think we had hope, we had prospects, we had maybe there's a chance I could do better. When I speak as a working class boy, and I thought to myself, well, you know, my dad is a carpet fitter, he works really hard, I don't want to work as hard as he does and with the sweat of his brow and whatever, and you try and think of clever ways to progress yourself and whatever. And I think what these politicians do, and I include them all in this, is they take away your dreams, your hopes, your aspirations, and the fact that you can do something. If you can do something for yourself, you're seen as greedy, you're seen as not contributing to society. And, you know, I know each of our stories. I know her story, I know your story, and I think that we do, in our own ways, things to benefit our families and our own lives. And you know what? You work blooming hard, really hard. He works blooming hard. And people, I'm leaving you out of this because I just don't know enough about you. but I'm saying I know these folks' stories, and you can look and you say, oh, there's your man Tim Vincent. He's on the telly. Life's easy for him and whatever it is. But for him even to hold on to a job, for you, all the jobs, people wouldn't even realise what it takes to keep you going.
I know.
And your family.
I know. But this is the thing. Oh, you're right. All politicians, after 14 years of Conservatism, there was nothing. There was no hope. There was only a dangle, only a dingle-dangle. We had Brexit. We had everything. There was nothing to hold on to give families growth, to give communities spirit. Everything has been annihilated. It's been taken away bit by bit. But it's also like these big companies coming in and buying a company and then ripping it all apart just to sell it off. It's soulless. This country is soulless.
Globalisation.
That's it. That is the absolute problem.
But Angela Rayner says, in this leaked document, the first line says she thinks this will be popular, prudent, and would not raise taxes on working people. But
it does raise taxes. I mean, a dividend.
Well, yeah, on working people.
Everybody who invests in a dividend or whatever is a working person.
Yes.
That's why they're getting that. So there's no point trying to pretend that these aren't working people. What I do believe in with Angela Rayner is that we need social housing. We absolutely need social housing. It should be a duty of society to provide it. However, not to people from Mongolia and, Sudan and whatever it happens to be. And we're going to have to get real on what effect we have on the world, the overall world. The overall world is not our problem. That's what I would say to you. give me your view on this morning and let me know what you think.
I mean, the overseas aid budget has been slashed by almost half, but it doesn't touch the size.
It doesn't touch the size of it. Who cares? Slash it all.
Yeah, I think that would be quite popular with people. Let us know what you think on that one. gbnews.com/you'll say.
You know, one thing I wish in life that I had got involved in property or done more things in property. Okay, you have a choice. You earn money, you work hard for it, and you could choose what to do with it. I chose to enjoy mine.
I think that's a good thing, though.
Well, it's a good thing. And this just, you get the tax department to then say, oh, you know, the way we said your tax was all fine, we've changed our minds. So we're going to go back over 10 years. And then you can't really bank against that. But that's what they do because they can do. And they all do it no matter what the party is. So now Angela Rayner's come forward today and she's saying, well, there's lots of ways I think we could get more tax out of them. So as if you're not feeling poor enough, they're going to get more from you. Where do they think it stops? You see, you know nothing about this because you're young in life and you're just starting out.
I am saving, though, or trying to save.
Yeah, but then you're going to get to 55 and 65 and you're going to look back and say, what have I got? And you're going to see that they've taken it all. They've taken it all from you in life through tax. And this greed thing today about, the wealth of the property of the country, 3.7 trillion, that's owned by old people. Tax them, get the money out of them because they're greedy. And what a lot of absolute nonsense. You're told all your life to do these things, do these responsible things.
Buy a house,
and then if you do it, they're going to hit you with a big hammer for it. That's it. So whether you have it, and good luck to you if you have it or you haven't. And, you know, there you go, you haven't got it. But they want it. They don't want it to be yours. They want it to be theirs. So, you know, does government not realise that tax money is not their money, it's our money? And really, they've got to think about how they spend our money. So I'm just starting that debate for you today. What you think of it? Let us have your say today. Maybe you agree, maybe you think, you know, Angela Rayner's absolutely right. There's no doubt about it. There should be more social housing. Government should be doing more things in the world. Like, probably government should be providing us with basic essentials like water. Like water that we should be able to drink and wash and whatever, and not going to private companies who are scooping every single centimetre of cent out of what is going on. So those water companies, we're going to be talking about them today as well. We've
got a lot to talk about this morning. But it's all about the left wing of the Labour Party. They're not happy with the spending squeeze that we're seeing at the moment. They're not happy with universal winter fuel payments being scrapped, cuts to disability benefits. They're thinking about something else instead. They're looking at taxes. And Angela Rayner has reportedly been pushing the Chancellor to increase taxes on savers and high earners.
Well, you know, I know you say left-wing, the Labour Party. They're all the same. All of them. All of them want to squeeze every pip from your body, from your being, from your bank account. So none of them are any different. Absolutely none. This is a leaked memo. And we're hoping to have the Telegraph writer on the programme who is reporting this today. So Angela Rayner has urged Rachel Reeves to reinstate a pensions lifetime allowance, increase taxes on dividends, so we don't like those, and freeze income tax thresholds ahead of the spring statement. So you thought you were poor, you ain't seen nothing yet.
Well, the move highlights growing frustration among ministers over the government's economic policy, with many now asking if tax rises are inevitable.
Well, we have had our say. Let's have Charlie Riley and see what he has to say about all of this. Well, my friend.
Good morning. Well, I think you're absolutely right, that summary at the top, because there are a lot of problems in this country. You know, if the government can't provide things like water, if it can't provide basic housing, of course there are issues. And you need to raise money, you need to spend some of that money in tax to fund those problems. However, how you raise that money and doing so in a way that doesn't choke off aspiration, that doesn't choke off growth, that doesn't go against what you said in your own election manifesto, which wasn't taxing working people. In Rachel Reeves' own last budget, she said, I'm not going to raise any more taxes to fund this 20 billion back.
But Charlie, you used the term working people there. They don't see anybody. I don't get dividends from anything, so I'm not speaking in my own interests here or anything. But they don't see anybody who gets a dividend as a working person.
No, and exactly. And so the plans that Angela Rayner has submitted to Rachel Reeves, the Chancellor, for example, freezing tax thresholds. So when you get an increase in your income, which is what the government hopes people can do, they'll say that wages keep going up. If you then get dragged into a higher tax bracket, you get taxed more. So that is a tax on working people. If you have worked hard and saved all your life and done the right thing, and you end up having, yes, quite a nice sum of savings, however, not in this day and age, if you've got to then save for things like a family home or a home when it's harder to get onto the property ladder, if you're saving for adult social care and things like that in this day and age.
You've got to save to die as well.
You absolutely have. And this idea about property, you're absolutely right, because this is something, I'm currently going through myself. A family that works hard all their life, that wants to just pass on, whether it's their property, a family home that your kids, your grandkids have grown up in, that you might then have to use to pay against care home fees, for example. All of that's coming at you by the Labour government.
I was brought up in a council house, right? So we lived in a few council houses, and the idea and the dream and the aspiration was always, imagine one day you could actually own this. And then you realise when you do own it, and we really did think we had arrived when we owned our 8,000 quid council house or whatever it was. But now the idea is, well, you've owned that, and we're going to squeeze you for that one as well, because we're going to get money out of you because you have bought it, and we're going to get money off our books because we don't have to pay, maintain or provide the social need that is due in this whole country for people.
That's absolutely right. Look, and the failure over social housing and council housing wasn't things like right to buy, which gave people hope and aspiration if you're able to buy your council house. It was the failure not to build more.
Yeah.
And so the idea, but it seems to me this government in particular, because they say that money is tight, but they're going after every kind of pip to squeeze, as you said earlier on, that they can get their hands on. But it's a tax on aspiration. It is a tax on people who have lived that dream, that have been told that is a way forward. That is a way to bring people up in society, not wait till they get there and then take it away from them. I think it's something that a lot of people this morning, they'll be reading those headlines, they'll be trying to take what the Chancellor says at face value by saying she's not going to raise any more taxes when it comes to the next budget. But this memo completely undermines that. It shows behind the scenes at the very top of government. And she's not a junior minister. She's not a back office.
No.
This is the Deputy Prime Minister suggesting to the Chancellor, you need to raise more taxes.
Do you think then it's inevitable that we will see tax rises in the autumn budget? Because we know headroom is tight, and we also know that spending cuts are politically damaging. I mean, we've seen what's happened with winter fuel.
Yeah, I think so, and I think there'll be some sort of reversing of that winter fuel allowance, whether it's the rate in which some people pay or whether it's a complete reverse altogether. We'll have to wait and see. But they've got a really tricky path to navigate here, the Labour government. They could have easily said back in the autumn or back in the first budget, right, we have to raise even more taxes than what Rachel Reeves did to try and fund the waste of the previous terrible Tory government. That's how they could have sold it.
They boxed themselves in, didn't they, with the taxes that they wouldn't rise?
Exactly. They've said they're not going to raise taxes, but now they're heralding all these trade deals left, right and centre with America, with India, now with the EU. The idea that then Rachel Reeves is going to come back to the dispatch box and say, even with those great deals, I'm still going to raise taxes. Well, people will be saying, well, hang on, what are you doing? What's your strategy? Where is the growth coming from? Where's the help for aspiration? Any idea about, any thought about tax cuts to help grow the economy on people that are the backbone of our economy, small and medium-sized businesses that have already had that tax increase through national insurance contributions? It just seems, as the days go by, that there's no strategy, that there's no narrative. People can get behind a narrative, as they did during the coalition years, it seemed to me, when they had to be cuts. So there was
the narrative, the strategy is despise anybody who's got a stake in society. Anybody, and it doesn't matter who you are, what you are, or how you got it. And I think that even people who don't have property would actually agree with the principle and say, well, that maybe if life was different for me, I could have had this or I could have had that, or that would have been the way to provide for my family or to hand on to people in general. But it's this suspicion amongst the ruling authorities, and I say Conservative, Lib Dems and Labour, I put you all in the same basket, that they just despise people having independent control.
Yeah, and I wouldn't just leave it at the door of politicians. They ultimately make decisions. But there seems to be this groupthink within the Treasury that does appear to be a middle-class, probably Oxbridge-educated group of people that think, we can just raise more money here, there and everywhere because everyone will be OK. They don't understand necessarily what it's like to be a young...
You've hit it on the head there. Rachel Reeves, right? You know, able politician, not Rachel Reeves, Angela Rayner, I'm thinking. And I'm thinking, so who knocks on her door and says, Madam, could I just show you this? Here's a great idea to get more money. I know this is not your thing, but take this idea. She doesn't think up taxing policy. She doesn't know taxing policy. So somebody's come to her and say, now, would you go to the Chancellor, who's supposed to know about all these things, and tell her, here's more money we could get? Why don't they go to the Chancellor directly?
Yeah, exactly. And, you know, you've got to think about the politics behind it. You know, Keir Starmer's poll ratings, you know, rock bottom at the minute because of just various things like the winter fuel allowance and just his, I think, presentation skills and not necessarily being the leader that I think people were hoping for. This is an opportunity, maybe. I mean, how has it been leaked? You know, why has it been leaked? You know, there is someone clearly trying to undermine the Prime Minister's authority. Somebody clearly trying to get out of the into the front pages that Angela Rayner is asking for more tax rises, because that is something the traditional left of the Labour Party would want to see. So there are questions around how has this come to light? Why now, in the run-up to more discussions around the budget? Why is it coming from Angela Rayner? You're right. Somebody's gone to her to say, look, if you want to be the politician, the star of the left, to raise more taxes, here's a way to do it.